You know, every business out there dreams of growth, expanding into new markets, finding new customers. But what if that big, bold move you're planning doesn't actually create new revenue, but just shuffles it around?
It's a pretty serious question, right? Because if you're not careful, your next big idea could literally end up eating your existing sales alive, leaving you with a ton of effort and absolutely no real growth to show for it. Okay, let's dive into this and figure out how to avoid that trap.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with the cannibalization trap itself. Then we'll look at the old, slow way people have tried to deal with it. After that, we'll ask a much deeper question, the why, and see how AI can help predict behavior. And finally, we'll see how this is all being put to the test in the real world.
All right, let's start with the problem itself, the cannibalization trap. It's this hidden danger that can sneak up on even the smartest growth strategies.
So what exactly is revenue cannibalization? Well, to put it simply, it's when you launch something new, a new product, or you enter a new market, and instead of bringing in brand new customers, you just convince your current customers to switch. The money moves from their left pocket to their right, but your total revenue doesn't actually go up. It's the illusion of growth.
Now, businesses have known about this risk for a really long time. And for just as long, they've been using these old, slow, outdated tools to try and see it coming. The problem is, these methods are just painfully inefficient.
How inefficient are we talking? Well, just to figure out if a new market is a good idea, traditional customer research can take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. Think about that. In today's world, that perfect strategic window you were aiming for might have already slammed shut by the time you even get your answer.
And that's not all. This multi-week waiting game comes with a pretty big price tag. We're talking $15,000 to $25,000 just to get the data you need to make one decision. So it's slow, it's super expensive, and honestly, a lot of the time it misses the most important part of the puzzle.
Now just look at this for a second, because the difference here is absolutely staggering. We're not talking about a little improvement. We're going from 6 to 8 weeks down to 20 minutes, from up to 25 grand down to about $100. But the real game changer, it's that last row. The focus shifts from the who, demographics, to the why, the actual reasons people buy.
And that brings us to the real breakthrough. To avoid cannibalizing your own sales, you have to stop asking, who is our customer? And you have to start asking a much, much more powerful question. Why are they buying from us in the first place?
This is where this framework, called jobs to be done, comes in. And the theory is just brilliant in its simplicity. It says customers don't just buy products, they hire them to do a specific job. If you can figure out what that job is, you can predict their behavior with incredible accuracy.
Let's look at a real example to make this concrete. Demographically, a chief technology officer at a giant enterprise and a CEO at a mid-sized company look totally different. The old way gets stuck on that, but the jobs to be done way asks, why are they hiring your software? Is the job to reduce technical debt, which is a deep operational need? Or is the job to quickly demonstrate ROI to their board, which is a strategic financial goal? See, those are two completely different jobs.
Okay, so understanding the job is the key. But how in the world do you do that without spending 6 weeks and a small fortune on interviews? Well, this is where modern technology comes in with a modern solution. This is where AI platforms are changing the game. Take a company called Atopica AI. They use something they call AI personas. Now, don't think of them as simple chatbots. Think of them as these deep behavioral simulations. They can actually replicate human decision-making with an astonishing 85% accuracy. It means you can basically interview your entire target market without ever scheduling a single call.
And the process itself is incredibly simple. First, you just pick the AI personas that match your current customers and your target customers. Then, the system runs a whole bunch of automated interviews, digging into those crucial motivations, that why. Next, it analyzes the overlap. Are these two groups trying to hire your product for the same job? And finally, boom, it spits out a report that tells you exactly what your cannibalization risk is.
Let's just pause on this for a second and let it sink in. This is the new reality of research. This isn't just a small step forward, it's a complete paradigm shift. What once took 2 months of grinding work can now be done on a coffee break. And the cost difference? It's just as wild. This changes the entire pace of how you can make strategic decisions.
So this all sounds amazing in theory, but the big question is, does it actually work in the real world? Well, let's put it to the test and look at a case study to see how this played out. So you've got this B2B software company, right?
They're thinking about expanding from their main clients, these huge enterprise companies, into the mid-market. Now, on the surface, their big fear made a lot of sense. They were worried their sales teams would just chase the easier, faster mid-market deals and end up cannibalizing their super high-value enterprise sales.
But then they ran the AI analysis, and the results were completely unexpected. The AI interviews showed that the two groups were hiring the software for fundamentally different jobs. The enterprise CTOs had a technical job, reduce technical debt. The mid-market CEOs had a financial job, demonstrate ROI. There was almost no overlap between them.
So, armed with this incredible insight, the company went for it. They moved forward with the expansion, full of confidence. And the result? $2.3 million in new incremental revenue every year. And here's the kicker. It had zero negative impact on their existing enterprise sales. They found true growth, not just shuffled money around. So, what are the big takeaways here? First, market research has been completely turned on its head. It's now something you can do in minutes, not weeks. Second, the whole game has shifted from demographics to behavior. Knowing why your customers buy is your new superpower. And third, with tools like this, what used to be a high-stakes gamble in a new market can now become a validated, high-reward opportunity. And that really just leaves us with one final question to think about. In your own business, in your own career, what are the crucial strategic decisions that you're delaying for weeks, or maybe even months, just waiting for data that you could potentially get an answer to in the next 20 minutes? Thanks for tuning in.